Hello, and welcome to the TCS podcast, where we are dedicated to helping you achieve extraordinary growth and success to create lasting impact on your families, companies, and communities. I'm Eric Guy, president of TCS. Joining us today is Gabe Bustos, right? I got that correct, Gabe?
100%.
Gabe is going to give us a rundown on his background. But we're going to dig into, especially with Gabe, what he does now, things around marketing, guys. And I know, especially Gabe, a lot of our folks, a lot of our contractors, we have a team here, one team that does stuff for our contractors. But a lot of it is just they just don't know. They've tried other things. I know you know this, but I'm kind of setting the stage for everything here of, what makes a good marketing plan. What should I look for? What should I avoid? What are the red flags? So we're going to jump in. And actually, Gabe's got a pretty good story, I think, here. He wasn't an immediate success, which is quite a familiar story for some of us, including myself. But you've been transparent, Gabe, online about some of the businesses that you ran, you tried to run and didn't make it. Give us a rundown of then versus now and what you're doing with Hector Home Services.
Absolutely. Well, Eric, thank you for having me on. I've learned a little bit about Top Contractor School, and I have a tremendous amount of respect for what you guys are doing there. I think investing in coaching is one of the smartest investments that any entrepreneur can make, and you'll hear me say that over and over again during this conversation. So yeah, like you mentioned, my background, been a serial entrepreneur for 18 years now. I launched and ran 4 different businesses to varying degrees of success, but the common denominator across all of them, which no longer exists, which is why I'm here right now, 4 businesses prior to this one, is that we never figured out the marketing. You know what I mean? I'm sure it's a story that's very familiar to your listeners, where, you can be a great operator and you can provide an amazing service, but unless you have a predictable and scalable and reliable way to get your brand and your message and your offer in front of people, it doesn't matter, right? I solved half the equation by being a good operator, but still got a 50% out of 100 on the test because I couldn't solve the marketing and sales piece. So after years of trying to find people and struggling to find people that I trusted, I just said enough is enough, and I dove in to learn it myself. And now we've decided to focus in on this industry to help provide the lessons that we've learned to the folks that we care about helping.
Yeah. And so you've created a company to do that, which is, ironic, funny, it's nice. But at what moment did you decide to go and start Hector? And maybe what's the why behind it?
Absolutely. Well, the why was that, right? I was like, I've been an entrepreneur my whole life, and I plan on being an entrepreneur the rest of my life. So like I said, I felt confident in my skills as an operator across several domains, right? Even like I've never been a contractor, but I'm confident that with the right training and process and whatnot, I could learn it and do it. But that's a completely different story from doing it and growing a business, doing it and marketing it, selling it, right? There's so many pieces to the puzzle. So for me, the last business that I put down before starting this one was a financial literacy education company called Money Club. And we would help college kids and adults get their money straight, save, invest, whatnot, budget better. And for several reasons that didn't work out. I'll probably hit on that over the course of our conversation because there's been some valuable lessons I've learned from it. But the moment was, it was not long after we decided to put the business down. I listened to Alex Hormozi's book, $100 Million Offers, where he really breaks down some core business fundamentals from a marketing and a business model standpoint. And I listened to that and I realized just from the fundamentals out the gate, that business was dead out the water, right? Like I could have saved myself 3 years of a lot of sweat and stress had I read this book prior. So, I took a little bit of a break, was just hustling some odd jobs while I put together my next strategy. And I really wanted to put together something that was sound in its business fundamentals from the get-go, which is why I got into marketing. Everybody needs marketing, and why I got into home services, because everybody needs home services.
Yeah, like a lot of our contractors that we hear, that come in and at least initially, and I thought this is probably not new to you, but they've been burned by kind of other agencies before. Um, what are the good ones do differently? Like, what do you do differently? What are the really good ones do differently than these kind of ones that make us all have a bad reputation, right?
Absolutely. Absolutely. It's, I mean, some of the stock answers, when I say stock, I mean, they're important, but they're important to hear, right? You're ultimately at the end of the day are they getting your results? And are you tracking the results you're getting? Are they tracking the results they're getting? Are you tracking each step of the pipeline? So how many leads you're getting, how many are turning into appointments, how many of those are turning into sales, and how does that compare to the return, to the investment that you're outlaying for that marketing, right? So ultimately, the good ones deliver, the bad ones don't, right? And it's on them and you to measure that from a return on investment perspective. But to kind of get deeper into why I think there's so much bad noise out there, right? And bad apples, is that I think it's a few reasons. I think that a lot of people try to focus too much on growth. A lot of agencies, whether they do it on purpose or not, operate on a churn and burn model, right? So they're more focused on landing the next sale than they are on keeping the last one. Some of them is intentional, some of them it's not, right? But either way, it doesn't lead to you having a good experience. And if you watch a lot of the content that agencies get, they have their own coaches and gurus, and a lot of it's like, you can build $1 million business in a year and retire on the beach. And it's like, that's not true. Like, that's not true. So, but like being on this side of it, I can see how a lot of people fall for that. Anyways, that's one reason. A second is that there's like the internet is changing rapidly, right? And it's a lot of work to keep up. And a lot of people don't keep up, right? They get comfortable, they're whatever, life takes gets one on them, and they can't keep up for whatever reason. So that's a big reason as well. And then of course there are some people that are bad actors, but I think the vast majority of them are not bad actors on purpose. They're just either falling behind the times, or they're trying to grow too fast and do too many things for too many different people all at the same time. And as a result, the quality suffers.
So let's dip into that a little bit, Gabe, and talk about like the truths that contractors actually need to hear. What are some of the biggest misconceptions that you see contractors having about lead generation and online marketing?
Totally. One is that marketing isn't magic, it's math, right? And I heard Brian Hess talk about this in the most recent episode you guys put out, right? It very much is a predictable process that when you put in the right inputs, you can expect the right outputs to come out. Okay. So it's not to say that it's not complicated. It's not to say it's not difficult, but there is a rhyme and a reason and a process to it. And if you follow that, right, you will have results. The other big one, I think, is that especially now in the age of AI and whatnot, everybody's in such a rush to automate things and to multiply things and to grow 10x before they grow 2x and all these things. And, you can't outsource authenticity. So I think that in today's age, we are all starved for authenticity. And those business owners, and, contractors included, who really can put themselves out there in an authentic way, will connect with people that are looking for somebody who's just being honest with them, right? Like in our industry, in agency industry, it's hard to find honesty. In the contractor industry, you've got to sift through bad apples and dishonest people. Again, whether it's intentional or not, but it's a similar challenge.
Yeah. What's one marketing metric that most business owners overlook, but they shouldn't?
Definitely reviews. Your reviews, especially on Google, right? We're specialists in Google. But when people are looking for a contractor, 9 times out of 10, if they don't have a referral already, 9 times out of 10, they're going to go to Google and they're going to scroll down to that part with the reviews, right? In the Google business profiles and whatnot. They're going to check who's got the best reviews and whose reviews actually look authentic and real. And then they're going to call a couple people, and whoever answers the phone first, and gives them a good experience is who they're going to keep going down with. So in my opinion, the two most important metrics that especially business owners can control are your reviews on Google. And the second would be your speed to lead. So how quickly you're answering the phone and what kind of an experience you're giving them.
Would yeah, I mean, we say that all the time, and I know that frustrates me when especially with contractors. I mean, that's frustrating when I can't even get a hold of somebody after even a second call. But the ones that do call me back real quick are typically the ones that they get the job. I mean, they just
Absolutely.
call me back and show up.
Absolutely.
Yeah, what's funny, and this is maybe a little off topic, Gabe, but I just like to. I'm laughing because you made me think of something because, uh, well, we have a media team here as part of TCS, and I know those guys here a lot, and I've heard a lot of the other contractors and just people in general, but a lot of the contractors, one of the things that they think they should pay attention to is I need more followers, right? You don't need more followers. You need business, right?
Absolutely.
And do you
Absolutely.
see other people getting caught up in that game?
Yeah, yeah. I come from an SEO background, a search engine optimization background, and there's lots of things in search that used to work well, like social media, blogging, that no longer work as well. Like there are other strategies now that are more immediately locally focused and authentic, like authenticity building focused, that work a lot better than social followers. Now, some people can crush it on social media if you're good on camera and you're good at creating that kind of content. But for most people, the most reliable bet is to get great reviews, have your customers sell your brand for you, right? That's the power of reviews. And then get that in front of people, which is a matter of visibility and, kind of not gaming the algorithms, but like following what they do to win online.
Yeah, I know Brian has said this to our community. I mean, many, many times of trying to get our contractors out there and just being authentic with who they are, regardless if they're, highly charismatic, but the ones that have, I mean, the ones that, our school's been around for, I think, 7 years now. And some of those folks and companies that have been around with us that long that have done that and just put themselves out there, even just with a phone, right? Just phone, authentic. Here's what I'm doing. They've seen the results. They see those people, especially locally. And you mentioned authenticity and you mentioned local marketing. What do you want to say about that?
Yeah, no, absolutely. Like it ties back to something we said earlier about we're all starved for authenticity, right? And there's so much data out there that shows that what you described, the handheld phone content, right? In the marketing world, it's called user generated content, or UGC, performs way better than like having some expensive film crew come out and trying to, replicate some TV commercial you see on TV, right? Like the messaging has to be sharp. Your presence has to be sharp. Your brand and your authenticity has to be sharp. But getting on camera just on a phone, candid style, on a job, telling people like what's really going on behind the scenes and what they need to hear, so much better than having some big production crew, trying to spend a bunch of money and it not even working as well anyways.
Yeah. Yeah, I know with, one of, several of our contractors I watch online, but the ones that put that media out there of them doing the job, I just love to watch that. It just kind of picks up and I'm like, I know what they do, but I still find myself watching it.
Absolutely. Yeah, it's like the ride along, like the making you feel like you're there. You know what I mean? That experience.
Yeah, here's another question that goes along with probably the authenticity piece, at least for me, but I'm interested to hear how you answer it. How can contractors communicate what makes them different from their competition, especially when it comes to marketing themselves?
Absolutely. I mean, so we try to work with a lot of family owned, local family owned businesses. And certainly just from that edge alone is valuable because again, we all like live in an age where people are sick of corporations, getting the best of them and whatnot. And I think a lot of people are genuinely looking to hire the hometown hero, right? And their friendly neighbor, so long as they feel like they can trust them to get the job well done. So I think that that's a big piece to lean into. And then the other thing that I'm going to keep coming back to is your reviews, right? And I share that to say that not only do you not have to do all the lifting of communicating the value of your brand and the trust of your brand, other people communicating it for you do an even better job, right? So if you can get your real customers who you provide a really quality service for to leave you an authentic review and just talk about the experience, that's going to go so much farther in communicating your authenticity than you can yourself, right? There's a big phrase in marketing, it's show, don't tell, right? Rather than saying, oh, I'm a trustworthy guy, trust me, you said, oh, you know what? Look at what all these people say about me and how trustworthy of a guy or a gal I am.
Yeah, and this probably, you probably answered this next question a little bit already, but maybe you just want to elaborate on it. For those contractors who rely really heavily on word of mouth, what do you suggest should be their first strategy they adopt as
Great
far
question.
as digital marketing?
It's a great question. Again, I'll keep my focus on Google because that's what I know best, and generally what performs best for local businesses. I would say there's 4 kind of key steps that are like the ticket to the dance, the most important things that everybody should have. The first off is a Google business profile and completing it in depth, right? So again, with the help of a YouTube video or ChatGPT, you sit down for an hour, it doesn't even take an hour to complete your Google business profile in depth. That's number 1. Number 2, this is harder, but definitely incredibly important, is getting reviews, right? Like we just talked about, it's not just for increasing your conversion rate and having people actually hire you. It's for the algorithm too. Google's algorithm places the number of reviews and your review score as a really big thing. And that's something that in most businesses, the business owner and the team themselves can really control. Like you don't really need an agency to get a bunch of good reviews. You have to provide good quality service and ask your people on the job, right? Number 3 is a website, and ideally a locally optimized website. But even if you can't take that next technical step of optimization, certainly having a website with, your core services, a little bit about your brand, and trust marks. So again, testimonials, reviews, any associations you're a part of, any awards you've won, anything like that helps quickly build trust in the eyes of customers. And then number 4, so those are like kind of the 3 core pieces of an online reputation: reviews, Google business profile, and a website. Number 4, which is a great kind of way to dip your feet in the water on getting leads, is Google's local services ads platform. I'm sure you're familiar with it, but for any of your listeners who are not, Google has it's like the Google guaranteed thing. Some people may recognize it as that, but it's essentially a sponsored listing of your Google business profile where it's pay per lead, and it does not really require much work to set up. In fact, as an agency, we don't even charge for it because there's not that much that we can do. Like they don't really give you a lot of control. So that's the downside of it, is that it's not super reliable, but generally it's really good for like a few month boost, because when you create a new campaign, Google pushes you to the top because they want to get you like in their system of, spending on ads. But anyways, I share that because it's a good kind of first step for paid lead gen, because not only does it not take a lot of effort to set up or to maintain, meaning you don't have to pay an agency retainer to do that on top of the ad spend, but it's pay per lead. So you only get charged on the leads you get, right? So it's hard to waste money on it. The worst case that happens is Google doesn't show your ad, you don't get any leads, but you're not wasting any money either, right? So there's a low downside risk to it. It's not necessarily something that you can scale a whole business on because of its limitations, but it's a great way to get started. However, even before you do that, you have to have a Google business profile. You have to have good reviews, because if you don't have good reviews, they're not going to show your ad in the first place.
Yeah, and one of the other things with a marketing strategy, especially online, that we really preach here is not just for customers anymore.
Mm,
It's for potential employees, right? To get people into that funnel because the job market is very tight,
mm,
right? Especially when we look at the trades, very tight, getting tighter.
right.
How important is it to not only attract just customers, but employees too to that? I mean, we beat it like a dead horse a lot of times, but I just want you to communicate to especially our community again, the importance of, hey, when you have something that's good like that, when you're being authentic online and when you have that presence on there, the importance of getting on there and being present is attracting the kind of employees, not just any employees, but employees that match who you are as a company.
Exactly. Yeah, I'll just add my couple cents in, but I'm sure that you have a lot more wisdom to share on this than I do. With that being said, just from personal experience, right? We as you know, we're not technically employees, but in a way, are selective about who we work with, and like we always look at a company's reviews before we choose to work with them. Not just because it's important for like us being able to be successful at the service that we're delivering, which is lead generation through Google, but also because we want to work with a company that treats their customers, you know, with the care and respect and that we aspire to ourselves, right? So just last week we had a remodeler reach out to us, and as I was interviewing him, they had some bad reviews, and then he was talking about how some of their competitors were like flagging a lot of their reviews and trying to get their website taken. Anyway, it's just these things where I was like, I'm not sure I want to work with this guy. Like, this sounds like an uphill battle so we didn't, right? So I think that people, like, it's not just your customers who look at your reviews and your reputation, like you said, but it's your employees or prospective employees as well. The other quick thing I'll add is that, SEO, so search engine optimization, is not just so we often will build hiring and careers pages and optimize them for our clients, right? And so, like, for example, we're working with an electrician right now who we created a page and optimized a page for electrician jobs in Maryland, which is where we are and where they are. And they're getting just rolling applications each week from people who are looking on Google, looking for an electrician job in Maryland. They find them, right? And so they're getting a bigger pool of applicants because of the visibility that they're able to get simply by optimizing their website for people looking for their jobs.
Good stuff. How do you maintain clarity and focus with such a fast changing space?
Yeah, it's a great question. I knew you were going to ask me something like this. Yeah, I think that focus is the ultimate superpower in today's age. I mean, and consistency, focus and consistency. And I heard Brian, your founder or one of your founders, on a recent episode talk about this, right? And so it's hard to know your lane, right? Like the $1 million answer is to stick in your lane, but the $1 million question is, how do you find your lane, right? And how do you not second guess your lane left and right? And I think that the answer to that is to invest in coaching and education, like what you guys do at Top Contractor School. We invest in a mastermind group for marketing agencies, and their whole thing is all about finding a niche and just focusing on that niche. So again, I told you I've been in business for 18 years, and only in the last couple years since we finally said we're not going to work with anybody else except one type of company, local service contractors. Only once we finally crossed that bridge has our business found success. And now I feel like I'm in the driver's seat of my business rather than looking out the rear view mirror, constantly putting out fires. So I think that, focusing on your lane and sticking with that is extremely important. And the way to constantly validate that your lane and your process is the right one, I think, is to surround yourself with people that have more experience than you to help you validate that, so you're not just ping-ponging back and forth in your own head all the time.
Yeah, good stuff. Yeah, I definitely agree. You ready for your rapid fire questions?
Let's do it.
All right. I actually added a couple more than I usually have for people. So here we go, Gabe. The first one ought to be fun. What's the worst marketing advice you've ever heard?
Worst marketing advice is throw everything against the wall and see what sticks, right? Goes against what I just said. Much more important to be strategic, find your lane, stay focused on what you can control, and just, be consistent. Be consistent.
What's one thing every contractor should stop doing in their marketing today?
To guess what is working, right? Look at the data. The data will tell you. Do not just guess. I think that it's so easy to fall into just telling yourself the story that you want to hear, right? I know this is not a rapid response, but it's important to me. We've met so many contractors who have stuck with a bad agency for so long just because they kept telling themselves it was going to turn around. It's like people who stay in a bad relationship, right? Because you're like, it's going to change. It's going to change. But if you look at the data doesn't lie.
Yeah. I like that. I say that a lot with on the people side of things. So right. I would agree with that answer. What's your favorite marketing tool or platform right now?
Yeah, I wrote Go High Level. It's a CRM. You guys might be familiar with it.
Yep.
Yeah, I figured it's an amazing tool. It's a lot, and you have to take it piece by piece as you learn it and implement it in your system. But you can do everything, or you can do just a little bit. It does so many things as a CRM, and it's just an incredibly powerful tool.
One word to describe the current state of digital marketing. That's a rough one. That's a tough question.
The only thing I could think of was change, man. And, I was like, I had some better words, some like more positive words, some more negative words. And I was like, okay, no, let's go with change, because in change, there's a lot of disruption, but also a lot of opportunity. And we see that there's really a lot of opportunity out there, but it's changing.
What's your biggest personal productivity hack?
It's to say no more. It's hard to do that. I read a book called Essentialism, and they have this 90-10 rule where it's either, if it's not a 90, like if it's not a hell yes, it's a hell no sort of. I think there was a quote, if it's not a hell yes or it's not a hell no, it's hell, right? So that 90-10, even if it's something's like a good idea but not great, I'm getting better and better at saying no to it. And just, really locking in on where my best and highest use is.
Yeah. Love it. Love it. Good answer. If you weren't in marketing, what do you think you'd be doing?
Totally. It's funny you asked me that. It's probably I would either be a teacher working with kids or like working with the elderly. I think that, granted I don't have kids, so I'm sure parents out there would say I'm wrong, that they're not as complicated, but I think that, there's something so simple about people in their early stages and ending stages of life. And I think that I would like to tap into that a bit more if I was not doing marketing right now.
What's one belief about business that's changed most for you in the past 5 years?
Definitely that focus is the ultimate superpower. My favorite quote in life is that there's no shortcut to any place worth going. And I think that that's true here too. Just stay focused, stay consistent, stay patient. Surround yourself with, more experienced people than you, and it will work. Yeah.
I could have bet I was 100% sure that was going to be your answer.
I know.
All right, last one here. Finish this sentence. The best contractors are the ones who
surround themselves with experts in the domains that they are not experts in. So I think that investing in coaching and education is by far the most valuable investment that any human being can make.
Good stuff. Gabe, where can we find you? Where's the easiest to hit you up at if we have questions or anything?
Absolutely. I appreciate the question. Our website is Hector Home Services Marketing.com. That's 4 words, Hector, the name, and then homeservicesmarketing.com. What we offer people is a free custom video that breaks down their current SEO standing and how quickly they could get to the top based on where they're at, how competitive they are, right? So you don't have to jump on a call. Just send us a message. And so long as, you fit the kind of business that we work with, we will film an in-depth video for you, breaking down your business, giving you tons of insights. And if you find it valuable from then, we can chat further from there.
Wonderful, wonderful. And hopefully we can you'd be a great guest on our inner circle as well, letting our contractors chat it up with you a little bit. And we do those every Wednesday. So we'll have to continue to be in touch, Gabe. Thanks for the information today. Any last words for our community?
Just thank you for the work that you guys do. Again, it's a lonely world out there as an entrepreneur, especially when you're a business owner, especially if you don't have many partners. It's lonely at the top. And I think finding community and coaching and expertise and education is the most valuable thing that people can do. So thank you for what you guys do.
All right, Gabe. Thank you. That's a wrap for today, guys, for the TCS podcast. Until next time, keep leading, keep growing, keep winning. We'll see you next time.